So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Women's Informal Network seminar on cultivating your career with mentoring. I am Chitra Deshpande, Senior Evaluation Officer in IFAD's Independent Office of Evaluation, and the founder of the Women's Informal Network, or WIN. We're pleased to have with us today Alvaro Lario, IFAD's Associate Vice President of the Financial Operations Department. He will share with us his advice and experience as a mentor for WIN's group mentoring pilot. We are also very fortunate to have all of his mentees, Kathrin Bausch, Ilaria Fermian, Joan Grogan, Nerina Muzurovic, and Shijie. Shijie will join a little later. And they will also share how they benefited from group mentoring. Before I give the floor to Alvaro, I wanted to introduce you to WIN, as we have in our audience IFAD colleagues at large, as well as our partners from the women's networks of the OECD and CGIAR. Welcome to all of you. WIN was founded in 2016 by a handful of IFAD staff as an informal professional network for women working in international development. Our aim is to promote inspirational women's leadership and managerial capacities. Today, we are over 700 members worldwide, with chapters in Rome, New York, Geneva, Vienna, and Nairobi. Our members work in 50 different organizations, including various UN agencies, and I believe almost all of them, different IFIs, NGOs, and government. In 2016, we also established our informal mentoring program in partnership with the JPO group and in collaboration with HRD. We have matched over 50 mentoring pairs in IFAD. We also have a separate mentoring program at FAO. And last year, we began piloting group mentoring, an idea shared by our WIN member, Katie Megan, General Counsel of IFAD, which she brought over an idea she had, or an experience she had in the IFC where she previously worked. Katie is also a group mentor participating in our pilot. Group mentoring provides an opportunity for senior managers to mentor a number of staff. It also allows the group to offer peer mentoring to one another. As mentoring is becoming mainstreamed within the UN through the Together Mentoring Program, and I believe there's a group of about 20 to 30 IFAD staff participating in the pilot now. WIN is in the process of reviewing our informal mentoring program. Today is an opportunity for us to learn from this group mentoring pilot. So on that note, I'm pleased to give the floor to Lario to start that learning process. So Alvaro, over to you, Alvaro.
Thank you very much, Chitra, and thank you all the participants. I say 60 participants, so that's already a privilege to be speaking at lunchtime with all of you and sharing what we have learned. This, like always, comes back to other people in my life and that have also supported me. And to me, this is a way of passing on the baton and actually trying to support. This is one of my drivers. The second one, obviously, has been also curiosity. So I have always been very curious about what actually prevents women, especially middle career, and that had been my ask in going to the next step. What are the mental beliefs? What are the barriers? I can see that in my day-to-day as a senior manager, but obviously I was also curious how I could support or if it was possible. I had done previously coaching, mentoring. I had never done it in a group. I was also curious on the dynamics of the group, which I had also understood could be very powerful. So actually, obviously, this is not part of my day-to-day of my role necessarily. It's a curiosity that and a way of trying to help that brought me here. It has been very satisfying. As you mentioned, some of the mentees have left. Still, I do believe that that was good for their careers, that it was a part of my support. And I also believe that this is a way, this of searching for all of us, of looking of what really satisfies us, what really can bring us to the impact we want in our lives. So in this sense, was important for myself to also provide a different angle in the coach sessions, and the mentees might, or mentor session, which is not the same as coaching. And they might also share how they perceived it, how it may or may not have supported it. But to me, I do not have a silver bullet. I do not have the answers. I do not have a good or bad advice. I have shared what, from a senior management point of view, I was looking, for example, in a director, what I believe would be mental beliefs I could see on the communication, on other aspects of the day-to-day. So I prepared a small presentation to try to share what I have learned, because it has been also a learning process for myself. So let me share my screen very quickly. Okay, so I think what many times is considered as not the most important part of the process, but at the end of the day, and probably the mentees might talk to this, has been really important, is actually to establish a goal. And a goal, it seems like a theoretical thing, but it took us 3 or 4 sessions to get to the goal, to define it, to refine it, to craft it, because many times we have wishful thinking, we're not being realistic, we just repeat what we thought is important for others. So it takes time to listen to oneself, and it takes time to actually understand what is what we want. We sometimes come to our managers, to our peers, we are dissatisfied and we don't know the why. So actually it's very important to understand what is exactly what we want and how we can actually, then we come to the second point, an action plan. In each of the sessions we have gone actually on a accountability partner, you could name it, you could say people who actually keep you on your feet, who are not afraid to tell you the truth and to tell you how they perceive you. And I think that's very important. So another important part is many times we just understand it, we keep it in our heads, and we do not make the steps. So actually these baby steps, setting up yourself for success, and this means not having a goal that is unreachable, but actually baby steps to take you there. I think this is part of the process, this is part of the success I think we have had as a group, as a mentor. And now the other 3 parts as key factors I would like to discuss are what I do believe it makes you a better professional, probably a better manager. Well, before that, being aware of your limiting beliefs. I think this happens a lot, or I would say in middle career, I do not see major differences between male and women. I don't want to generalize. What I do see is that women, and we know it from research, do believe that you need the experience, you need the knowledge, you need everything before you try. Actually, that's not the case. It's how you tell your story, how you have learned from it. And we have examples the mentees might want to share about, I have not managed teams, so then I cannot become a manager. I'm sure you have managed people, relationships, connections. So actually, you do have that experience, how you perceive it, how you're able to communicate it is the key part. So explore and try. This is very easy to say. Obviously, this is where actually life comes in. If you take a risk, there might be a payoff. Otherwise, usually life without risk and adventures is very clearly a very dull life. I mean, normally boredom is just what you could perceive as the lack of stimulation, the lack of changing in your environment. So clearly that's part of our lives. We have to action on it and we have to be the ones moving it. So the last 2 points I wanted to make, to connect. It's sometimes we believe that managing people, being a senior manager, it's about knowing more. Actually, in many cases, hopefully I'm the one who knows less in the room. I think for a person who manages people, the most important part is about bonding, connecting to others. People will remember how you made them feel, how you supported them, how you made them progress, but not necessarily always what you said. So managing your emotions, being aware of them, other people's emotions, connecting to them. This takes time. This takes also space. Sometimes we have to stop in order to feel. We have to stop in order to connect. And finally, this is something that we also encounter a lot in our groups, has been reaching out. I mean, sometimes we believe that our work will speak for ourselves. That's never the case for none of us. So it's important to reach out to make sure, and sometimes there's misunderstandings with networking, what it means to reach to others. I'm an introvert, I do not reach out. Actually, you do connect to many people in your day-to-day. So it's just a natural part. If they do not know you, if they do not know your work, it's impossible that you will get to other positions, to other opportunities. And you will be rejected. We are all rejected at some point, but you need to reach out. And then you will see that unexpected things happen. I mean, when things do not happen many times, it's because we do not manage to connect, to reach out. So let me try to stop sharing, which, sorry about that. Stop sharing, okay. So just let me finalize. I do not want to take much more time. I'm sure the mentees can also provide their experiences. There's a lot that is in your hands actually to be able to have a more satisfying career and a more and a number of a variety of experiences, but it always starts with you. It starts from your connection. And thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Alvaro. That was actually very, very short, but inspiring, in fact. And I appreciated all of the messages, especially take risks. You know, life will be dull without them. So on this note, I'm going to start just a few questions with your mentees, and maybe they can share their experience as well. So maybe I'll start with Nerina. Nerina, can you tell me, I think you are the longest standing member of the group. We started with 3 people, and then two members got promotional opportunities outside of IFAD, and that was very positive. And then you stayed on for the second half of the new group. And so I think you have a broader view of the group mentoring from both groups. So can you explain to us a bit about the process of group mentoring and what you found most useful?
Sure thing. And first off, maybe I should just express my words of gratitude for this wonderful opportunity to the WIN Network, and also to the rest of the group and Alvaro for taking this risk and for having the confidence and trust in this process. I think that's really important. To answer your question in terms of the group mentoring as a process, I would say that what maybe we underestimate a bit is the fact that group mentoring as such is a very innovative concept. Because not only do you have one mentor who is kind of overseeing and facilitating the group, but each mentee, and we were 3 mentees in a group, is acting as a mentor in turn. So in a way, we're all mentoring each other. And that's really what's so unique about it, because you really foster a very strong team-based environment, and you're also strengthening the relationships in the process between all of the different mentees. And I think for me, just connecting that to what you were saying about the usefulness, I think that was really the one particularly useful aspect was really the bonds that we formed as a group, and which is something that Alvaro was also mentioning. Furthermore, to maybe just give a little bit of an idea of the framework, because Alvaro was also showing it in his presentation, the way in which this process has been set up is really about having the team kind of helping each other with Alvaro's guidance, of course, to set the SMART mentorship goals. Those were kind of like a learning goals that we all thought about that were centered around guiding questions. So for instance, my guiding questions were, how can I improve my management leadership skills? How can I be better at networking? So those were the guiding goals. And then we would commit to working on them throughout this process and identify an action plan that Alvaro was also referring to in his presentation. And what was really nice about it is that in this action plan, we would come up with micro actions. And so for me, what was useful was thinking about how can I, me being a very theoretical, very kind of overthinking person, really structure my goals in such a way that they're achievable, that I can commit to a certain time frame, and how to distill them to certain micro actions. And the group feedback was really useful in this process in terms of guiding me to see my blind spots, to really make my actions more achievable. And I really struggled. And this was also something that Alvaro was mentioning. It took us 3 or 4 sessions to really kind of come down with our goals and to think of this action plan. And so we would do this in an hourly meeting. So to say, we would have 1 hour. And I would say what were the 2 key ingredients of the success of this meeting were the fact that in this 1 hour that we had allotted, everybody was able to take turns and speak roughly the same amount of time, which gave us all a chance to really have our time and talk us sort of ourselves, I guess, bounce our ideas and discuss the issues that we were facing. But then the second ingredient, which one underestimates, is being able to listen was just as important. So, so there was and this created a high degree of social security amongst the group. And I would say that just to close off, what I really found, like one key element that I thought was really very useful about the group was really that sense of the group cohesion that was created, and the fact that I feel very comfortable reaching out to the group and especially my peers for any questions that I may have, to bounce off ideas. And I hope that our kind of mentorship that we have, our bond, will also extend beyond the actual, group when the group is over. So, I mean, the group sessions, the structured group sessions are over. So much from my side, over.
Thank you so much, Nerina. That was, I really thought that point about group cohesion came through very strongly, and I think bonds of trust that are important and the value of the peer group. I'm going to just pose my next question to your other 2 members who left the group. I think also because I think so whoever is able to speak first. I know Shijie is on a remote mission, and so she kindly took a pause to join us. So I'm not sure if she would like to speak first, or Kathrin, but maybe you can, tell us about, there's Shijie. We'll do Shijie first because I know she has time constraints. So Shijie, you were with the group, you were one of the original members, and then very soon after you found a new opportunity at the World Bank, and congratulations. And I hope that our mentoring process was part of that, in fact. But I don't know, maybe you can share with us how did you benefit from the group mentoring, and how did it help advance your career, and how did it help in any other ways beyond that? Over. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Chicha, and great to see so many familiar faces. It's great that we can still get connected after 1 year. Actually, it's 1 year since I left IFAD. So first also, I would like to also express my gratitude, to the WIN network, the mentorship program, and also Alvaro, for his time and then that support has given to me. I joined the group mentoring at that time when I was working in the same department. Since I joined IFAD for over a few years, that I found seems that I also personally have had a career interest in, I used to work in the evaluation office. So personally had a career interest to bridge it to working operation. I have tried many times to seek, that opportunities, but then was not as what I originally expected. So I think joining the mentoring with Alvaro, I think as mentioned in the presentation by Alvaro earlier, is that set up the goal. And I've been always know that, my goal is that I would like to work in the operation. And then, but then I think the more detailed question I remember is bounced, during this questions raised by both my mentor, but also by Nerina, there are many aspects of operation. What do you think, you want to you have the, let's say, competitive advantage in, or you can really enter with your skill set? So I think, that is sort of really helped me to operationalize my sort of general goal that, I want to move to operation. But then that time, I think, also I think it's started with the action plan and also how to measure the success. And I'm glad, I have to say, I joined probably just for around the 2 months time with Alvaro. I really hope that I could have stayed much longer with the team, hearing Nerina sharing the experience. I feel like I have missed a lot. But I think the nice thing is that, I got a career opportunity in the World Bank. And now I have to say, I was just looking at the goals I've set at the beginning of the mentorship. I actually have set 2 goals, and one is moving to operation, and another actually to write a research paper. And then now I have to say I'm glad that I've achieved both of them. So that's what I'm really like happy for what the mentorship has helped me. Specifically, also, I maybe I can share like also more of reaching to my goal of working operation. That when I joined the World Bank I have never been to the office after 1 year. So it's been actually also difficult. So like, the advice I have forgot from Alvaro, from my mentees is like, reaching out. I have to say it's been, I benefited a lot also from this behavior change that have brought to me, or this idea that Alvaro shared as like a manager level's perspective, how he would see junior staff coming up. So I think that has also encouraged me and to reach out. And so, even though I joined virtually, I've already actually in the World Bank, I reached out, I found my own mentor, and then later I found another mentor. I have 2 mentors guiding me. And also I've been reached out by a lot of teams to do cross support. And then, so I found, I've been surrounded by a lot of support or change that was really brought, starting from the very beginning, that I had to go, I want to work on operation, and how I can really reach that. I'm really glad to share that I was able to achieve that. And also I have to, maybe also here in the World Bank, there's this mindset is a marketplace. I'm selling my skills. So really at the, and I charge them. So when I selling my skills, my time. So I think, this question have like, what really skills I can bring to a team. I used to work in validation, and I said, what I could do. That's really attract a lot of team reach out to me. I think that is also a lot of reflections. I think it came from the mentoring experience that I had. So this is my experience. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Shijie. I mean, I feel so energized just by hearing from you, and I'm so glad that the small time that you were with the group actually continued to help you as you started your new career in a new organization. So I'm really pleased to hear about that. Maybe we can also speak to your counterpart who also moved on. So Kathrin, also I think you stayed a little bit longer than Shijie, but maybe you can share sort of how the mentoring helped you in terms of your career, maybe also in terms of your new organization that you joined, and in any other aspect. So over to you, Kathrin.
Yeah, thank you, Chitra. And I also wanted to thank Alvaro and you, Chitra, for initiating this. And I really benefited a lot, although I didn't stay for that long, because similar to Shijie, I was lucky and I then found a gig at WFP. So at the time when I was in the mentorship program, I was a P3 investigations officer with AUO. And now I'm a P4 senior investigator with WFP, and I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya. So when I started in the mentorship program, I think for me, I was so wrapped up in short-term goals and goals that would align with my unit's goals. So when I first had to come up with goals, I was thinking about, my goal is I would like to streamline this certain process in my unit, or I would like to, work on this, find time for this very specific project that I think might add some value in my unit, in my work right now. And Alvaro really challenged me to think about goals in a completely different way. It's not about my organization or my supervisor or my team. It's about me, and it's about what gives me energy. And that was something I had never done before, really, to put myself kind of in the center of this thought process of career development. And when I thought about that, I was thinking, okay, what gives me energy? What is something that I really would like to achieve in my life, you know, rather than, you know, how would I maybe add some more value in my own team or get some new responsibilities within my team. And so I was thinking, you know, what I really would like to do is actually would really like to go to the field. I would like to experience a region that I've never lived in, and I would like to see operations, and maybe I would like to learn about humanitarian operations. So something completely different, because I came from the World Bank before I joined IFAD, and I was very much thinking, you know, I'm interested in finance and development finance and so on. But then I thought maybe that I need a completely different experience to feel that hunger and to feel that passion for my work. And so, you know, when I became a bit more honest with me about that, like what gives me energy, what would I like to get out of my my career as part of my life, really, I kind of switched my goals. And so I was thinking, you know, maybe I have to think about my goals in a broader way, and I have to include options outside of IFAD, or outside even of my area of work that, you know, I had specialized in before. And so, yeah, so that was a really productive starting point for me. What I liked about the mentorship program as well is that it gives you this dedicated space and time to think about your development, your goals, and you know, and to also, you know, come up with a work plan, and to always check if you're still on track, you know, and to bounce ideas off with other peers, but also Alvaro, who's more experienced. You know, if you're still kind of working towards something that will give you satisfaction in the longer term. And so, you know, I don't think I would have taken, otherwise I would have taken the time or even the courage, to be honest, to think so much about that, and to plan specific steps on how I could achieve or come closer to achieving these goals. And so that was really great. And yeah, so I really appreciated also the solidarity, because when you start talking to other people that are in the same, at the same point in their careers, maybe like mid-level, you understand that we all have those same questions and doubts, because when you start out, maybe you're just grateful that you got a job, and you're just grateful that, you know, maybe at some point that you got a staff position or something like that. But then once you've worked a couple of years in your role, that's when you, I think, start asking yourself, you know, so, okay, so what do I actually want to get out of my career? And so we were all at that point. And I think that was great, because you kind of feel not alone with that, and you have that solidarity. So I think that was really a positive aspect for me as well. I don't know if I would have applied for the position that I have right now if it weren't for my peers and the group session, because as Alvaro already alluded to, I was one of these people that thought, you know, if I'm not really qualified in the most optimal way, I'm not sure if I should put time and effort into that application process, because there's so much that you have to do in your daily work, and you know, there's that idea of, you know, it's probably not going to work out, and so. But since I wanted to really work towards my goal in some way, I thought the best step would be starting to apply for jobs in, you know, in the humanitarian field, look for field positions, looking, you know, for something that would allow me maybe also to, you know, to just change my role a little bit and to get new energy. And then when I started applying, I applied with that mindset that this is part of my practice, my work plan. It's not something that will probably happen, but it's something that helps me develop, because I want to build that experience of interviewing, of, you know, and it gives me energy, because I'm feeling I'm doing something for myself. I'm, you know, working towards that vision that I have of my goals. and that it worked out was fantastic. So I actually did get the role, and so yeah, and it's great, and it's really great at WFP. It's a new experience, and I love Nairobi, which we have rainy season right now, but otherwise it's a great place, and yeah, and it has really added something, you know, to my life that I didn't expect when I started at the mentoring in the mentoring program. It's a great experience, and yeah, and I think yeah, so I'm actually really grateful that we were all having these sessions at the time when I realized that, yeah, I should maybe look for these opportunities outside of IFAD and look for something new. And yeah, and it worked out. So I'm very, very happy.
Great. Oh, Kathrin, great to hear that. It sounds like, you know, key words were the specific plan, you know, having a goal, putting yourself in the center. And I think that is an issue a lot of women have, in fact, putting themselves in the center of their career. And I think it's interesting because it takes work to do a plan, but you talked about being energized. So it's clear that the mentoring process and the group solidarity gave you that energy. So I'm really happy about that. I'm now just going to pass on, move on to our other two speakers. And so maybe I'll speak to Ilaria. And Ilaria, I just wanted to ask you then, you're the mentee with the longest tenure at IFAD, right? And could you share with us sort of what made you decide to join the group and what you've gained from it? So over to you, Ilaria.
Okay, thank you, Chitra. I have to say, I'm definitely the mentee with the longest tenure at IFAD, but the one with the shortest tenure in the mentoring group. So I think maybe it's a bit too early to fully assess gains, especially in light of the fact that mentoring is a process that implies behavioral changes, and they naturally take time. So just this reflection first. But however, on your questions on why I decided to join, I must say it was probably an effect of positive peer influence, because the opportunity was actually, like I was made aware of the opportunity by a peer I trust, who presented it as a very valuable experience. And I think I had the reflection of it being an opportunity for having really some time for myself, as you just mentioned, something that I realized I was totally missing. And then in terms of gains, a couple of things mainly. First of all, I'd say that already in the sessions I had, I think the main gain is a radical shift in perspective. Probably having been in IFAD for a very long time, I tended to see things only in one way, or sort of through a narrow angle. And both the mentor and the other mentees, they really bring a different point of view. And they see things that I would not see. And especially, I think related to the possibility of acquiring new skills in the actual context in which I work and with the team I'm already engaged with. So while the tendency was to see this as a static situation, I started seeing it as very dynamic. And then the second thing is definitely the mentoring supports a structured reflection on what it is that I want to do, what is my ambition over the longer term, and and you end up linking your daily work to this ambition, which gives really much greater energy to your daily work. I'd stop here.
Yeah, you stopped there, but really that was great. So meaning those short tenure, I mean, a radical shift in your perspective. I think that sounds like a pretty strong impact, in fact. So I'm glad that despite your long tenure at IFAD, we could, you know, add value to your personal life and way of thinking. So now let's go to the mentee with the shortest tenure at IFAD, and that's Joan. So Joan, What did you see as the benefits, or can you share what your experience with us in the mentoring program as a fairly new IFAD staff, and what did you find most useful? Over to you, Joan.
Thank you, Chitra, and thank you for having us today on the panel. And a big thank you, first and foremost, to Alvaro for all his time and support in the mentoring group, and to my colleagues Ilaria and Nerina. It's been a real pleasure working together in the group. So yes, I suppose I am the newest in terms of staff. And actually I would, I suppose, look at the mentoring more from the perspective of being new to a supervisory role, more than the fact of being new to IFAD when I joined. So when I came in as a staff member, I was tasked with setting up a new unit. So I did not come into an existing team. I came in to set up the Finance and Impact Investments unit in the legal department under Katie and Cynthia's leadership. So as well as building the unit from scratch, I also had the challenge of learning to lead and build an actual team. We had no staff members. So that, there were quite a number of challenges around that whole process. So there were a lot of key initiatives that we were involved in as well and helping to lead. So trying to identify goals, I think this is a theme that has come out for everybody, I think, in this conversation. The key in the mentoring with Alvaro was learning to understand and design your goal or goals. And also the fact it did not have to be multiple goals. It could just be one, depending on what you felt you needed. So I felt in terms of being able for this to be a success, it was very important to understand what I wanted and to be able to make progress on whatever that goal would be. I'm very interested in Kathrin's response as well in terms of what her experience in the mentoring group was, because I really struggled. Everybody said, it took us 3 to 4 sessions to work out the goals. And I was really struggling because I'm lucky enough to work with Katie on a day-to-day basis. So I get a lot of informal coaching. And the question for me was, now with this mentoring, what do I do with it? What, how can I benefit? How can it be useful? And Alvaro said, you have to think, and it's in his slide, what gives you energy? So in the face of all these challenges that I had in terms of setting up the team and, learning again to supervise people after a very long time, I really thought about what will give me energy so that I can actually do this job properly, contribute to the division and to my colleagues and to the institution. And I really sat down and thought, and I figured out one goal which was that I wanted to improve my public speaking and become a little less afraid of public events or where I might be called upon to speak. In terms of the takeaways, I have 3 real takeaways from the sessions that we had. Actually, 2 of them I think a lot of people have talked about, and Alvaro has them in his slides even. The being clear about your goals, be realistic about them. It's not this theoretical sort of highfalutin, unrealizable ambitions, but rather what do I want to do and how can I do it? The second thing was the importance of micro actions. And I think it seems to me from listening to everybody, took away that lesson. A little bit like the New Zealand rugby team, where their philosophy is you do not make massive changes, incremental little steps that are going to help over the long term to achieve and realize what you are trying to achieve. And that was a really valuable lesson because Alvaro was very, very clear that you needed to bring your goal down to your day-to-day and think about how you could make movements in your day-to-day, how your goal related to your day-to-day, and how you would take actions to reach the goal in that day-to-day. And the third thing, and I think the most important thing almost for me that I learned out of it was it's what I call the honesty trust equation within our group. And again, we talked about, my colleagues have talked about this before me, about the support of the group together, not just the mentoring of Alvaro down to the group, but us all, Nerina, Ilaria and myself also supporting each other, even outside of that formal structure. And I think for mentoring, it is very important to be able to be honest with yourself be honest within your group about what it is you want, and also what you may think are your challenges to achieve that. And also to have trust, that you trust your mentor and that you build trust with the mentor, so he or she will trust you, that within your group you trust each other, and that you trust in the process, because I think it is in that mix that you will be able to hear honest feedback. And honest feedback, for me at least, is the moment in which I started to make progress toward the goal. And it can be difficult to hear, of course, but when you have that trust and honesty within the environment, then you can really believe in what you are being told and really take actions, I think, to identify how you can move forward with the goal. I think, as well as Ilaria said, I mean, I'm still quite early on in this mentoring, I suppose, journey, and that's what I would call it. It's a journey. It's not by itself a destination. And even beyond the mentoring group, you know, for myself, I will have to keep going and keep these goals and keep working at them after the group itself has finished. It's been a wonderful experience, I have to say, and a real growth and a real learning experience, and also wonderful to meet people outside of the division as of leg that I possibly might not have met, at least not so quickly. So, and thank you for the opportunity to share these experiences with everybody, with you.
Thank you, Joan. Really, and I noted that one of your goals was public speaking, so you did fantastic today. So I would say that was achieved as well as the other aspects that you mentioned. And I really, the messages I heard and I heard across, in fact, was, you know, the key words being honest with yourself, honesty in feedback, trust with the mentor, trust with the group. And it sounds like trusting yourself, you know, to listen to yourself about what gives you energy. And energy was a key word. So I think for all of us, I think we can take away what gives you energy to guide your career goal. And at this point, I just would like to open up the discussion actually to the group for some questions and answers. So questions from you and answers from our panel and from Alvaro. And I'd like to also just take the opportunity to just introduce our other Rome leaders in WIN. So we have Tiziana Galloni, who founded WIN along with me, and Marilena Heinrich, who's our FAO coordinator. I think she's been in and out, but she'll be scanning the chat if you'd like to make your questions in the chat. So I see Wazi already. And then I hope they're still here, but our WIN leaders in New York woke up early this morning to join us. Daniela Milic, so there's her message in the chat, as well as Erin Anastasi from UNFPA. So very glad to have you guys by our side this morning from New York. So now just over to you, Wazi.
Thank you so much. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much for the wonderful range of experience. One thing I wanted to find out was, how was it to be mentored by a man? Because I've been mentoring, I'm part of I did the pilot, but I've only had mentees. And when I specifically put out my request to be mentored, I asked for a man to mentor me and not a woman. So I wanted to find out what difference that made, if any. And the second thing is, I see that two of you have moved organizations. Was that a direct result of the mentorship, or was it something that you were always working on and then it just all came together? Over.
Who would like to answer that question? Any volunteers? Did I see Joan?
No, but I'm happy to, I suppose I've never been mentored formally by anybody else, so it was my first experience generally. I can't comment as to whether there is any difference between it. I mean, if I think about being mentored informally on a day-to-day basis by my own boss within IFAD, I didn't necessarily see any fundamental differences, I must say. but others, I think, have had other experiences in mentoring, so perhaps they can give a broader perspective.
I'll just note that Alvaro raised his hand, so maybe he has a response. Alvaro, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, perhaps there were also another question on the chat about men and women. So I mean, to me, what has brought me here, as I said before, is curiosity. That's very clear. When I started with the coaching, I mentioned to the group, I'm not only a male, I'm a white male coming, and I'm also a middle-aged white male. So that comes obviously how I'm being perceived and how obviously others might have a perception of myself. However, on the day-to-day, like in my life, and especially on this process, it could have been a 80-year-old, it could have been a 20, it could have been, I think what matters is the openness and the trust. And that, I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with being male or woman. It brought me to the process, but once there and accepting the biases, to me, didn't make any difference, but the mentees might have a different impression over.
Great. I'm just going to scan if you want to have a think about it, if anyone wants to add to the conversation, or maybe others in the chat you might add. But I'll just go over to the next hand I had seen, to Marilena. Over to you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for sharing your experiences. We are running a mentoring program at FAO as well, and I'm always short of mentors. So my question is for Alvaro to share. Alvaro, what has been your biggest lesson learned through this group mentoring that you have done? And thank you again. Something that could inspire other mentors.
Just over to you, Alvaro.
Well, I have learned a lot. I have learned more deep insights into what are some of the struggles that middle career women would have. In this case, I would say they are not very different from what male middle career men might have, even though I could see, as I mentioned, one of the things that I see less is the need to be sure that you are ready before jumping to things. On the rest, you could have overthinking women, overthinking men. You could have men who could take risks, women who wouldn't want. I mean, I don't think there's many difference. I think the main difference in this case would be that fact. In terms of inspiring as the main lesson, I don't know. Could be just that people are people. I mean, they're men and women, even if we're in a women's network. So you have to connect, you have to bond, and you can bond with an introverted male, with an extroverted woman. So we all have different dimensions. So in that sense, I mean, it just gives me the variety of human beings, which is something I appreciate. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Alvaro. And then we'll do one more online question, and then we'll go to the chat. So over to you, Lilia.
Yes, hi Chitra. Hello, everyone. My name is Lilia. I'm from ITC, the International Trade Center in Geneva. Thank you for the great presentation. And actually, it would be nice to share your presentation, Alvaro. I really liked it. And thank you for the insight from everyone that that was with you as a mentee. I just wanted to share my own experience because I have never been mentee or mentor until last year. And in fact, 2 programs opened at about the same time, one in ITC and itself, so within the staff of ITC, and one within the UN, involving the UN at large. So I chose the UN one, and I had the pleasure and the honor to mentor Chitra, and that's how I came to win, actually. So I share a lot of the lessons learned that you have shared in this presentation. But my question, maybe to anyone in the group, the reason I didn't want to take the ITC mentorship is that I felt the organization is too small, and there could be some preconceived ideas about some people, or you know, we all come with our past and our experience in the same organization, and we are all part of the same organization. So I thought if I go outside, I will be probably more neutral, but I will have someone in front of me that does not know me and will be also neutral. I don't know what is your experience, because you're all part of IFAD, and actually the fact of being an IFAD has worked well, and some of you have moved on. So I just wanted to have your views on whether it's better to be in the same organization or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Lilia. And that's a very interesting question. And I'll just tie that also into, I think there have been some questions in the chat about mentoring program. And again, we do have the FAO program mentoring, and at IFAD, just to tell you the landscape of mentoring, there is this UN mentoring program called Together, and that's for IFAD staff of all levels, GS and staff, and as well as professional. However, it is limited to staff. In the WIN mentoring and the FAO mentoring, we are open to consultants. So again, this is, we've been doing the piloting, so we have not been actively doing individual mentoring, but this is something that from this session, we're going to be reorganizing, and we're actually in discussions with the OECD Women's Network about mentoring and how we can take our lessons from our different mentoring programs to strengthen ours. So we'll take this feedback in terms of maybe we're hoping to launch something later in the year about our joint efforts. And I'll just also note that CGIAR, Women's Network, WIRES, is also organizing a mentoring program. So it's really the right moment, and we hope to learn from one another. So just to share on that and maybe answering those questions. And I'll also take an opportunity to ask the question from Daniela before answering Lilia's question from the panel. So Daniela was asking, so good afternoon, how refreshing and encouraging to see a male champion of women. Thank you, Alvaro. Men and women may work side by side and share similar ambitions, but their experiences in the workplace are markedly different. How do you see men's role in taking action on gender inequality? What more can we do in WIN networks to this effect? So just over to the panel and to all. Over to Alvaro. Maybe you want to start with the first question, and then others can discuss Lilia's.
Yeah, on this one, I think I'm the only one in the panel that can answer the proper. Well, no, I mean, indeed, it's not the male question. It could be, how do you see men's role? That would be interesting to see it from other women too. I do not see myself as a men's role. I see myself as a senior leader in IFAD that also needs to show by example, and also by the actions that you take on your day-to-day that is the case, whether with my staff, whether with the policies that we try to instill. So I think that's where the action comes. Actually, I do not have any theoretical answer to that question. I would say that example, and obviously what at the end is being delivered. So hopefully both in the policies as well as in how we treat other people on the day-to-day. However, in terms of what more can we do, it's very clear that this is not only a professional setting, it comes much wider than that. I have 3 children, I have 2 daughters. So I think it comes from education. This is, I mean, it has been something that probably it's a bias for many more than centuries. So it's a matter of starting with education. So in the professional setting, I think it's important that the biases, that we recognize them and that we take action. So that would be my answer to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvaro. In fact, there was a study, I'll have to find it, but they said that men with daughters tend to be gender champions. So maybe one answer is more men need to have daughters. But anyway, I don't think we have any control over that. But I don't know if others had just to speak to Lilia's question. And I just wanted also, there's another question in the chat about the difference between individual and group mentoring, if anyone has feedback on that. Perhaps this was your only experience with mentoring in a group. So if not, that's fine. But if you do have views. Ilaria.
And for me, just a quick feedback on Lilia's question, not on the group versus individual mentoring, because I don't have other experiences, but on I think the question on being in your own institution, which may be smaller, like is the case of IFAD, I don't think it makes a difference, because as many others are raised already, I think the trust within the group is a very I mean, is what matters most. And really, I don't think that being with people that absolutely don't know you professionally, what they do, I don't think it makes a difference. I think it's really a group dynamic which is fully based on trust. And yeah, I don't think the issue of doing it with people within your same relatively small organization is an issue. Over.
Thank you, Ilaria. Maybe I'll also add to that response, just because I've participated in our WIN mentoring within IFAD as well as the UN mentoring. And for me, I think the quality of the mentoring as it is certainly sort of the same. I would say that maybe if you're thinking of different goals, so if you're really thinking about your own personal career development, I think that it really doesn't make a difference. So if your goal is really to maybe move up in an organization, or really, you know, get maybe, especially if you're new to an organization, I would favor having a mentor within your organization so that you can understand and meet people within the organization to support you. However, if your goal is to leave that organization, it may be better to go outside, or maybe if you want to hear different experiences and a different perspective. So if, you know, just to get a different view of things. So I think it might be linked to your own goals. I think for me, that was I appreciated these differences. And just to say, I brought this mentoring program because I was like, where isn't there a mentoring program in any UN organization I've worked at? I came from the private sector, and from day one, you're assigned a mentor. I was assigned a mentor from my first day. I was assigned a junior mentor and a senior mentor. And then later I developed my own mentors. And that was critical in the private sector. Your mentor was critical for your career development within that institution. They could actually speak at the equivalent of the PES meeting on your behalf to advocate for you. And so for this reason, I really wanted to bring this to IFAD. I see Alvaro has a view. Over to you, Alvaro.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that things only happen because certain people create them. In this case, Chitra, you created it. I was very interested. I also reached out to you because I was interested. So it's only your own interest. This is not an IFAD issue. This is not something that somebody has put together and you just sign and it's great and you benefit from it. I mean, obviously, it's the interest of the mentees, it's the interest of the mentor, it's the interest of Chitra creating it. And this is very important, not only for this, but in life. Actually, you create the things. Over.
Thank you, Alvaro. That's a really inspiring sort of last message as we come to 2 o'clock, and I like to keep things sort of on time. So maybe I'll just close on that. I don't think there are any other pressing questions, but if you do have pressing questions, do write to myself with regards to the IFAD mentoring. Do write to Marilena about the FAO, and we're actually thinking of doing a WIN kind of a cross-WIN mentoring. So that's our next step that we're hoping to provide to our WIN mentors. We're trying to fill in the gaps that are made by the UN mentoring. So in our first instance, we encourage you to join UN mentoring if you're staff, and if you're not staff, or if you're interested in you know, particularly our WIN models like our group mentoring, then please come and speak to us. And as I said, this is kicking off our sort of peer mentoring within WIN on a group level, a more broader group. And every month from June until December, we'll have a special session focused on an issue that has been highlighted in the UNAIDS mentoring guideline as an issue for women. And so you'll have an opportunity to meet other women and discuss these issues. So do join us. And I just want to really thank Alvaro, Ilaria, Joan, Kathrin, Shijie had to leave, Nerina, for your really honest feedback about the mentoring program and for putting your time and trust in all of us. And especially thanks to Alvaro, because for reaching out to me and showing your interest as a gender champion and ally. We are so grateful for you of being a partner with WIN. And I'd like you all to just unmute yourselves and give a round of applause. So let's give a round of applause to our great panel and speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chitra.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you.
And we will share the recording and the presentation through our WIN update. And if you're not on our WIN, you're not a WIN member, would like to be, write to me, of course. And if you're not a, if you've got this some other way, do write, and we'll share the recording and presentation. So thank you all, and have a good afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Take care.
Oh, thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, Marilena.
You may want to stop the recording.
Yeah, good idea. Oops, thanks, I forgot. Where is it?